everyone, this is Chris. Thank you for joining me. In today's video, we're going to do some paper collage or napkin collage, I should say, and we're going to do this on glass. So I'm going to give you some examples on what I have done here. So these are just plain plates. They're in glass, all of them. You could probably do this on plastic dishes, but it's maybe not as translucent as transparent. But that will work too, because here I've just preferred to use some glass. So this is one example, and I've just used normal napkins. This is a more summery one with candies. Birdies here. I love the colors. They're maybe a bit yellowish, and that's maybe a mistake I have done, but I still like the look of it. I like the colors. They're very subtle. Other napkins, I have a whole bunch of these, so that's another nice way to use them up. Here I have some balloons. I really like it also. They're very old and they're gonna stay like this. Honestly, if you do it the right way and it's not complicated at all, you're gonna keep them for years and years. And this is also a very good idea for craft fairs, because you can sell these. Honestly, I have done that like hot cupcakes, because they really are not expensive to make, so you don't have to price them very high. Another one, this is more for fall season. I really like it. And the very last one here is a more beachy scenery. And the back of it, of this one, is blue. And I would recommend using first some white. If you want to color the back, all of the others are yellow. But if you really want to color it, I would first use some white. And I will explain that in a while. Because what is happening is that if you don't use white directly on your napkin, and you're going to see the example here, this is the same napkin that I have used there, okay? But because I didn't use white behind, it kind of colored my napkin. So it's not as vivid, it's not as bright. It's not bad, but when you see the two side by side, you can see a real difference. This one I have put some gold, and I'm going to show you, if you really want to keep the same color, how you need to do that. So, what you will need for this, so obviously some plates, glass plates, and you can use also big ones. I'm going to do some on big ones as well, like this one. You can eat them on, you can eat them. You can't eat your plates, I'm sorry. But you can use them and eat in it, because we're actually going to use the back of it. That's the place where we're going to put our paper. So here I'm going to make an example on the smallest one. It's exactly the same process if you're using a bigger plate. Any kind of napkin will do. I might do one for Christmas, or the same. In my example, I'm going to show you this one so you can see the difference. But you can choose your napkins. You will need also some varnish. That is also going to be useful for this one here. And that's, any brand will do. This is a French brand I have, but if you want to use Mod Podge, go for Mod Podge. And what I like about Mod Podge is that some of them are dishwasher safe, so that could be a good idea. But just in case, I would recommend cleaning your plates by hand and not putting them in a dishwasher, just in case you didn't put varnish perfectly everywhere. And also what I would recommend for the brush is something that is very, very soft. This one is a bit harsh, as you can see. It's a nice one, but it's too harsh. So if you have a bigger plate, go for a bigger brush, because you'll go quicker. But also having something that is really not firm, very soft, is much better, because otherwise you might tear apart your paper, because it's going to be with glue. It's going to be very fragile and you might tear it apart. So something very soft. And acrylic paint that we'll have to use on the back of it. Okay, so get your stuff ready and I'll be back in a second. Okay, so actually I have changed my mind, and I'm going to use this napkin because it's Christmassy and I think it's the right season for it. So how do I know where to cut? Well, because you're not going to use the whole napkin, so you're not going to keep it, you're going to cut it. So what I like to do is take my my plate here, or the element you want to decorate, and then what I like to do is put my napkin on top and really fold it as much as I can over my my plate here to see what kinds of designs I want, and really Keep that in mind and cut around it quite closely. You don't have to be just at the same size, a little bit larger, but you don't have to have 3 inches on the sides. So here I like the way it is because I can see the 2 points set up. But I don't want to see that red line here because I won't have the red line on the other 2 sides. So I'm just moving it around until I'm happy, and when I'm happy I just need to cut it. And if you're not sure, you don't like to eyeball it, what you can do is just use a pencil, and once you're happy with it, just draw 2 or 3 lines around your plate and cut along the lines. Okay, so I've cut it down and it's again a little bigger than my plate. Okay, just a few centimeters, not that much. What I'm going to do now, and that's really important, is to take away the 2 parts that we don't need. Usually, napkins come with 3 layers. They can come in 2, but they usually come in 3. So you really need to make sure that you take away all the white sheets here, the white layers. We're only going to take and keep the top part that is colored. And if you're not sure, it needs to be really translucent. You need to see through it, okay? That's the good part, that's the wrong part, and it really needs to be completely clear. So these parts, you can throw them away. And what is important too, on this example at least, is that we're going to work on the back of our plate here. So we are going to put the right face down, okay? We're going to work the back with the right place down. So you're going to have the 2 wrong sides in your direction. I hope this is clear. Right, and then again, I'm going to make sure that I have my napkin exactly where I want it. So I'm just taking a few seconds here to make sure it's in place. I can move around my napkin because afterwards, as soon as I start putting my first dab of varnish here or glue, it's not going to work any longer. I can't take it away or it's going to rip it apart. And I'm not putting anything underneath. I used to put first some varnish on my plate and then put the napkin, but honestly it doesn't work that well. I prefer to do it directly like this because your napkin is so thin that your varnish is going to go through anyway. So what I like to do, and I think it's the best way also, is that you start in the middle and then you go like in a sun shape, okay? You're going around there very gently, and I'm having my paintbrush like this, quite parallel to my plate. Not like this, very parallel, because it helps me be smooth. Something very important too is if you don't want to rip it apart, you need to have enough varnish here on your brush, because otherwise, if you don't have enough, it's going to start too much, how could I say, it's going to pull on your napkin too much, and this is when it's going to rip it apart. And that's also why I don't like to use glue. You could use glue and water it down because it's going to be too thick, but glue tends to stick to the napkin too much. This varnish here glides a lot, and because it glides, and I have enough here, I'm not going to put too much. I'm not going to put this. Okay, that is too much. You don't need to work too much at a time. But because it slides very much, I'm not going to rip my my napkin apart. That's really important. If it starts to be too dry, you need to put some more. And don't touch the napkin if you have dry fingers. If you need to touch the napkin and you don't want to make your fingers stick to it, you need to put your fingers into the varnish. And then if you really wanted to, like I'm doing right now, I could do this if I really want to smooth it out because there's a place I didn't like. You can use your fingers, but put some varnish on it first. And then you make your way around here very gently. Very gently. And if I don't have enough, I'm going to put some more. But glue for this, yes you can. It does work, but it tends to rip your paper apart. And if you use some kind of PVA glue, you have to thin it down for about 50%. 50% water, 50% glue, okay? That's important, otherwise it's going to be too thick and too tacky. And I'm going like this. I can hold my paper slightly like that, not too much. And if you want to go over the sides, you can on your plate, or you just can stop under. That's totally up to you. There's absolutely no wrong or way, no bad or good way to do it. And if you make some mistakes, you can always come back. If you have another piece of napkin, that's good, because you can cut one part, go back, and add a little piece if you had to, or you ripped it apart, but that's totally fine. And I forgot to tell you something important as well, is if you need to turn your plate around or your object, try not to touch this part here. Don't touch it. Put something underneath that you can turn around if you need to, because sometimes you can't put your head everywhere and you need to maybe have some more light. So just turn the paper that it is underneath, and what you will put underneath is some kind of baking sheet, a non-stick surface, because if you put a piece of paper there, of course it's going to stick on your glue, and then not good. So put something like baking paper or parchment paper that is not going to stick to your glue, and then you'll be able to play with this and turn it around without any risk. So before starting putting your paint, you need to trim off all the edges. Here, you don't need to keep them. Make sure before cutting your napkin, the excess, that everything is really well glued, that you shouldn't go and have any gap. If you have a gap, if you see that your napkin is not well cut, not well glued, that's the moment you can go and add more. And if it's okay, just cut your napkin very close to the edge. And then what you're going to do is use some sandpaper, not too thick but not too thin either, because you really need to take all the excess away. And you can already do some with your fingers like this, really trying to get all the excess here as much as I can out. And then with your sandpaper, you're going to sand away all the excess here. On my edges, I don't want to have anything because I want to put some gold paint, but you can go up to the edges if that's what you want. So I'm just showing you how you can take it away very easily by sanding your paper and your glass at the same time. It's not going to damage it. Okay, and you're going to have pieces like this that are going to go off. Very easy. Once you're happy with this, and I'm going to pretend I've done it all around, because I'm going to do this in just minutes, you can take your paint, and the more opaque the better, so you won't have to put too many coats. Now you're going to be able to put your paint directly. You're always working, of course, on the wrong side of your plate, and you're just going to paint all over your napkin. You might need 2 or 3 coats depending again of the thickness or the opacity of your paint, but that's what you're going to do. So I think you got the whole thing. Then you're going to leave it to dry after 2, maybe 3 coats, and then we're going to do one more step just to make it all secure. Everything has dried, and now for the finishing touch and to protect your paint, you can use your varnish. So any kind of varnish will do for this, whether it's matte or glossy, Mod Podge, any kind of varnish. And I'm going to take somewhat the one I have here, the brand I have found here, and I'm just going to varnish on top, directly on top of my paint. I'm not going to put any water on. That's just going to be fun. You're going to put this varnish everywhere. Probably put 2 coats to really make sure that you've got enough varnish everywhere. I know that you can't really see anything, but it's a glossy one that I'm putting here, and I'm going to put 2 layers, maybe 3, to make sure it's really well coated, because this is the part that is going to be on your table, and you know, if you use it a lot or with your fingers, or if it's a little scratchy, it might take away your paint, so it's going to damage your plate, which would be a shame. So that's the varnish part. Now what you can also do, if you really like that, is put here, I've left this part here quite blank, and if you made a mistake, you've put some paint on the edges here, what you can do is use an X-Acto knife and take your paint off. Even when it's dry, you'll be able to do this, or again, your sandpaper, take the white part here off if you don't like it. But what I'm going to do is use a gold pen. It's going to be acrylic pen, or it can be oily as well, and put a little gold color here on the sides. I think that I need to put this color. So I'm going to show you the brand I use. But I like the color. It's quite glossy, but it really needs a second coat. So I'll do this all the sides, and I think it's going to finish it up with a nicer look than just white. That's my personal preference, but if you want to leave it white, just keep it as is. This is the other one that I made with you previously. I think they're really cute. You can do them, of course, in a variety of colors, depending on what you like to do. I'm doing this for Christmas, but you can obviously do it for all kinds of seasons with different napkins. You could do some also for maybe Mother's Day, why not, or any theme you wish. I hope you like this video. It's really easy to do. Try it out. Again, you could do this on plastic plates. They may just not last as long than glass, and they're really not expensive anyway. So please, if you like this video, give me some thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel and hit the bell button, and also share on social medias. Don't forget the comments. I always come back to you. Thank you very much. See you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.